Jays on Sportsnet. Presented by the all-new Honda Civic, now available with Turbo, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Welcome to St. Petersburg. Drew Smyly, the left-hander, will take the mound to pitch the second time this season against the Toronto Blue Jays. And Smyly was roughed up the first time he faced the Jays. He gave up 3 home runs, but it's been a different story since that start. He has really become one of the best young left-handers in all of baseball. The Blue Jays, they need a win. They were swept at the hands of the Chicago White Sox, went 2-4 on the homestand, and John Gibbons' lineup needs to swing the bats a little more consistently. Top of the order, Michael Saunders. He's hitting .318 for the season. Then Josh Donaldson. His numbers against Drew Smyly are impressive. It'll be interesting to see how Smyly approaches him tonight. 6 for 11, 4 extra base hits, including a pair of home runs. Right behind him, Jose Bautista has absolutely worn out the Rays in his career. 28 home runs and 65 RBIs, so this is a tough 3-spot hitter for Drew Smyly.
2-3-4. You talked about that first start he had against the Blue Jays earlier this month. One of the guys he had problems with was Josh Donaldson, but since then he's been outstanding. He has gone 7 innings in 3 straight starts. That's one shy of the longest streak of his career, and he's very frugal with his pitches. He's only averaging 14 pitches per inning. He'll attack the strike zone. He's 1-2. He finally won a ball game his last time up. That was since September of 2015.
Defensively, a good outfit tonight with Brandon Guyer getting a start in left. Kiermaier, of course, we know how good he is. He's a Platinum Gold Glove winner, and Steven Souza Jr. is in right. Longoria and Miller on the left side. Forsythe and Morrison on the right side. Kurt Casale is the catcher tonight for the lefty Drew Smyly.
And in right field, Steven Souza playing well in the outfield. He made a catch the other day. It was outstanding. He likened to the catch he made when he was with the Washington Nationals when he saved a no-hitter for Scherzer. He only has 1 outfield assist, though, this season. The only outfielder to have an assist for Tampa.
First pitch is up and in to Michael Saunders. Saunders comes in batting .318 for the season. That's good for 10th in the American League. Of course, he had a home run against Drew Smyly right here in the series opener.
Do you remember that? There was about a 10-minute delay right before he hit that home run. There was some controversy down the right field line on a catch or no catch or a foul ball. Michael Saunders took advantage of that by hitting the next pitch he saw out of the ballpark.
Yeah, there was a very unusual play down there. Souza got a ball in foul territory, missed it. The umpires called out. Nobody knew what was going to happen. It took about 5 minutes to get things sorted out. 2-1 pitch to Saunders. He pops this one up. Longoria over near the Blue Jays dugout. He's got room and makes the catch. One away here in the first. It'll bring Josh Donaldson to the plate.
Well, this is one of the batters right here that the Blue Jays need to get going right here, and he's done it against Drew Smyly. Take a look at the pitch type on his career hits versus Smyly. Everything is center cut. Smiley's going to give you something to hit. It's going to be around the plate. Fastball. He'll elevate it with the fastball, and he'll throw the slider in there. But Donaldson's done a good job of waiting for that ball to stay in the middle of the plate.
Fastball off the plate outside. Donaldson batting .297. He's got 8 doubles, a triple, and 7 home runs. There's another fastball down and away.
He will do that. He will stay down. He'll actually throw the ball up in the upper parts of the strike zone to get you to stand up and then throw a slider down and in.
Another pop up, this one high into shallow left field. That is the second baseman, Logan Forsythe, all the way out into shallow left field to make the catch. 2 pop-up outs here.
Keep an eye out on the pop-ups that the Blue Jays have. I told you that Smyly will throw fastballs up in the strike zone, and if you're not squaring them up, you're going to be popping up. That's 2 batters now tonight, 2 pop-ups for the Blue Jays.
Here is Jose Bautista with his 28 career home runs against the Rays. Same pattern, down and away for strike 1.
Down and away. Down and in, then a couple up, then right back down. He's going to try and change that eye level.
Just like the Chicago White Sox we saw in that 3-game series at Rogers Center, these Tampa Bay pitchers throw a lot of strikes.
And they're going to be around the plate. And they're very aggressive. Tough to get Smiley early. He hasn't given up a first inning run in 12 starts.
Bautista got a pitch to hit out over the plate. Elevated.
That's another thing that the Blue Jays have had problems with. It's not that they're swinging bats that they aren't very good. It's that the pitches that they are hitting, they're just missing them. You can see that on pitch tracker right there. That yellow number 4 right in the middle. That is a pitch that Jose Bautista normally sends into the seats. Fouled it straight back.
Edwin Encarnacion is on deck if Bautista can reach base. Pops it up. Another pop-up off the bat of the Jays early in this game. Jose continues to get on base. He is tied with Joe Mauer with 20 walks. He's got a .394 on base percentage. Changeup. The appeal down the first. Joe West said no way. That's walk number 21 for Bautista.
So patient at the plate. I don't care what that pitcher will throw. That time he threw him a 3-2 changeup. And Jose had the discipline to lay off of it.
When Encarnacion is 2 for 7 against Drew Smiley, who will work out of the stretch for the first time. Smiley knows that the Blue Jays aren't going to run in this ballpark. Not for a while. They're going to let the big hitters take a look at his pitches.
Yeah, and look who's hitting, too. You don't want to be running into an out with Encarnacion at the plate.
Edwin on the homestand went 4 for 22. He had a pair of doubles, a home run, and drove in 4 in the 6 games at Rogers Center. There's a high hop down the left side. That's going to reach the seats out of play. Brendan Geyer over to give it a look.
You know, we saw some good things from Encarnacion in that homestand that the Blue Jays just finished up. We saw him start to use the middle of the field just a little bit more. Whenever he starts to wind up and get back on that back leg and starts driving the ball to left center and to right center field, you know good things are just around the corner for him. For him, it's just a matter of timing.
1-1 pitch. Changeup popped up behind the home plate. Kurt Casale off with the mask. He's got room. Drew Smiley taking the sting out of the Blue Jays bats in the first inning. 3 pop-outs and a walk. We'll go to the bottom of the first. Aaron Sanchez will take the mound against the Rays when we A .412 average, 14 for 34 for Logan Forsythe, and then down in that 5th spot, Steven Souza Jr. has put up big numbers for the Blue Jays so far, including 3 home runs and a 2-home-run game already. Steven Souza Jr. batting in the 5th spot against Sanchez.
5th start of the season for Aaron Sanchez. There are his numbers, 1-1 with .333 earned run average. Second versus the Rays this year. He was scintillating, if you will, in his first start against Tampa Bay. 7 innings, 8 strikeouts, which was a season high. You know what he was doing in that game? I mean, he was pounding that strike zone with his fastball. Everything was down. They were hitting it into the ground, using his breaking ball and his changeup very effectively.
Last time out against Oakland, they were all over his fastball. The A's were very aggressive swinging at that fastball. And how about Forsythe? He is hot. Logan Forsythe, we mentioned his last 9 games, and he has pushed that with a leadoff single here in his first at bat. Take a look at the defense for the Blue Jays, and in the outfield, Michael Saunders is in left, Kevin Pillar in center, and Jose Bautista in his premier spot in right field. Donaldson and Tulowitzki, they man the left side. Goins and Justin Smoke gets the start at first. They're on the right side, and Russell Mark behind the plate for Aaron Sanchez.
Blue Jays, there's Justin Smoke over there at first base. They have already had 4 players make at least 1 start over at first base this year. In the leader, Justin Smoke. This is his 9th start of the season. His last start, though, was 5 days ago. That was Sunday versus Oakland.
This is Brad Miller. He's in the 2 spot. There goes the runner, Forsythe. The hit and run is on. It's a long run from Michael Saunders, and it's in the bullpen of the Jays, but he can't quite get there.
How about that? Tampa Bay Rays, they know how tough Aaron Sanchez can be. So they play hit and run early in this contest.
Tampa Bay won 2 of 3 from the Orioles, despite the fact they hit 180 in the series. They struck out 27 times, scored 6 runs, and still won 2 of 3. Shows you how good their pitching is.
Their pitching's been outstanding. Talking to some of the Rays before the game, they won a game the other day when they struck out 16 times and only had 3 hits and still won the ball game.
Breaking ball pulled foul as Sanchez jumps ahead 1-2.
They changed up their lineup just a little bit since the last time we saw the Rays. Logan Morrison was hitting in the number 2 hole the last time we saw him, but Kevin Cash trying to ignite that offense has moved Miller there, who is a good hit and run player.
Outside with the fastball, it evens the count at 2-2. Logan Morrison was hitting second, and he has a 107 batting average, so he's down in the order. Batting 6th in the batting order tonight, and Morrison hasn't driven in a run yet. Another fly ball down the left side. Saunders a little closer toward the line, but this one's going to slice out of play.
The player they have hitting second now, this is Brad Miller right now. He's aggressive, and he's aggressive with the fastball. He'll swing early in the count. Batting average isn't much to speak of at just 148 starting this game. But he's in a better slot, I think, for Tampa Bay, hitting number 2.
Can't quite get around on that fastball. 96.
You mentioned that Sanchez, in his last start versus the Oakland A's, the A's were all over his fastball. They were not very well placed fastballs, if you ask me. If you go back and look at the tape of that, everything seemed to be center cut and about belt high, and he's the first one to say that. I just had trouble getting that ball down. I was getting on the side of it.
There's a line drive into center. Pillar's going to hustle to cut it off. Morrison had to, Forsythe had to hold his ground to make sure Pillar doesn't catch it. They have seen his act before, and he can run them all down, but that one he couldn't get to.
Couldn't get to, and then he threw behind the runner. That would have been a perfect opportunity for Logan Forsythe to take an extra base. Pitch out over the plate, up once more time, up again, and hit into left field. And Forsythe, who was the runner at second base, just was able to move up. 1 base on that base hit the left field.
Number 3 hitter is the veteran Evan Longoria. Longoria off to a bit of a slow start. 241 with 3 home runs. He's not fared well against Aaron Sanchez in the past, just 1 for 11. The breaking ball. You think Sanchez needs to mix his pitches a little more effectively?
Yeah, he was throwing a lot of fastballs against Oakland, and even his changeup, which has been a work in progress, really was up in the strike zone. I'd like to see him use his curveball a little bit more. I think it's outstanding.
There's the curveball. Longoria's had trouble with that curveball from Sanchez in the past. We saw that in his first start against the Rays. That's the first out of the inning.
Well, when he starts mixing like that and using the fastball and puts fastball in the mind of the hitters, he can do this. That ball got off of the hitting plane. That was another problem that he had in that Oakland start. Everything seemed to be on the same plane, the hitting plane. When his sinker's good, it's going down. When his curveball's good, it's getting underneath the bat.
Well, this is the dangerous Corey Dickerson. He's got 5 home runs so far this season. His average is 227, but he's up there thinking about doing some damage. And he'll swing it.
He's not shy about swinging that bat, is he? He hit a home run here the first time the Blue Jays were in Tropicana Field earlier this month. Might have been the longest home run that I've seen from a left-handed batter. It almost hit the scoreboard in right center.
There's a strike. Sanchez jumps ahead of Corey Dickerson. Logan Forsythe at second, Brad Miller at first. They both singled. Then Longoria struck out. Strike 3 call. Dickerson caught looking at that good fastball. Back-to-back strikeouts after the 2 singles to start the inning.
I think he had that curveball on his mind, and he was able to take that fastball right on the corner. Martin fakes on the inside and then goes to the outside. Aaron was saying the other day he likes to aim that fastball right down the middle of the plate and use the great movement to take it to the corner. That's what he did right there to freeze Dickerson.
So this is Steven Souza Jr. I mentioned he is playing well of late. He, like Dickerson, has 5 home runs. 3 of those have come at the hands of the Blue Jays.
He might have had the biggest home run against the Blue Jays in that series, if you remember that game. Came in against Arnold Leone and hit a home run. Big home run. They ended up winning that game.
Pops this one up. Russell Martin behind home plate's got plenty of room. Hey, Sanchez got out of it. Back-to-back singles to start the inning. 2 on, nobody out. He strikes out Longoria, strikes out Dickerson, and gets Souza to pop out. No score after 1.
Jays could use some kind of a spark for their offense, and a guy who did give them that last year, Devin Travis, is now just weeks away, not months from returning. He played his first extended spring game today. He said he felt fantastic. He told me during the time that he was rehabbing, there were a lot of dark days. Little questioning is, when is this thing ever going to get healthy? But he says that his teammates and his family were huge to get him through those times, and being in uniform in spring training made a big difference, gave him that extra push to get himself back. Guys?
Barry, that's a very good player the Blue Jays haven't had since the middle of last season, and Devin Travis has had to work hard. And Donovan Santos on his right, one of the trainers down here in Florida, certainly has a lot to do with his recovery. But Pat, you know how lonely that is to be working by yourself trying to come back from an injury.
Man, you feel terrible. You don't even feel like you're part of the team or the organization. All you're trying to do is get yourself healthy, and you're not around the guys, you're not helping out. And you were saying in the middle of the season, he got hurt right at the beginning of May and then tried to come back in July. Took one swing after he hit a home run, and then he was done for the rest of the season. But I'll tell you what, he's a positive kid. You talk to him, everything is upbeat. He's excited. He loves being a part of the Blue Jays organization. It'd be good to get him healthy and get him back on the field somewhere.
Well, he finally found out what was causing the problem and had it addressed with surgery. Troy Tulowitzki leading off the top of the second. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Tulowitzki. Down and away with the heater. That's the first strikeout of the night for Drew Smyly.
Smiley's been on a little bit of a roll when it comes to strikeouts. He has had 2 games of 11 strikeouts. This is number 1 tonight. He had a 5 and a 6 game strikeout, so 33 strikeouts overall, which was good for 5th in the American League coming into this game.
He had 11 strikeouts against Cleveland and 11 more against Boston.
You know, I wouldn't say he's a blower, a guy who just overpowers you, the radar gun, and overpowers you as a hitter, but he can hit his spots. He can hit that fastball on the outside part of the plate. He changes speeds with the curveball, slider, changeup, and he throws all over the strike zone.
You know what he is?
He's a pitcher.
He's Jose Quintana.
He's Jose Quintana. That's a good call. Doesn't overpower you.
The guy that pitched against the Blue Jays on Wednesday. Breaking ball to Smoke. Shallow center field. The shortstop is Backmetal makes the catch, 2 down.
Yeah, he might not have the stuff of a Chris Sale, who we saw the other day, but I'll tell you what, he can pitch. There's the most strikeouts in the American League. You all know about Price and Archer and Moore. You might not be familiar with Rich Hill, but he's been dealing this year. And there's Drew Smyly. 3 Rays in the top 5.
Jim Hickey, longtime pitching coach here, has had a lot of impact on convincing these pitchers to throw strikes. There's Chris Archer, who has bounced back after losing his first 4 starts. He was good in his last time out. We'll see him tomorrow against Jay Happ. Russell Martin, he had a tough game on Wednesday, a 4 strikeout game against the White Sox. This is the 7th left-handed starter the Blue Jays have faced this season, and the 3rd in a row. Sale on Tuesday, Quintana on Wednesday. Two and two. There's been so much talk about how you address the strikeouts for the Blue Jays, and it's all up to the hitters in my mind. You just got to dig your heels in and get 2 strikes, shorten up your swing, try to put the bat on the ball.
A lot of empty at bats for the Blue Jays because of all the strikeouts, especially with runners on base and runners in scoring position. You have to figure out a way to put the bat on the ball. At least give yourself a chance.
Just missed the inside, and Drew Smyly really wanted that. You see it's off the plate, and he didn't get the call. Full count, 2 outs. Kevin Pillar, the center fielder, waits on deck. Martin gets a piece of that.
Would you classify him as one of those pitchers, Drew Smyly, where you just don't pick the ball up and it gets on you, like a Jay Happ, who we'll see tomorrow, or some of those other lefties where they get that ball and it's on you quickly?
He's got a little loop in his delivery right in the back when he drops his hand, and that's a kind of a timing mechanism that's difficult for hitters to pick up on. When he breaks his hand out of his glove and there's a little loop in the back, and it's just a little bit disconcerting because it's a change of timing and rhythm right there.
But he gets his arm up quickly and then through. Deception. That's one of the keys, I think, to being a successful pitcher. Stuff, control, command, pitchability.
Marley took something off that pitch. 3 up, 3 down. Blue Jays go down quietly in the second with a couple of strikeouts. Drew Smyly, 35 strikeouts so far this season.
Fans membership kits are now available for the 2016 Junior Jays Club, presented by Boston Pizza. This year's membership kit includes a Blue Jays ball cap, sunglasses, backpack, and more. Exclusive access to members-only events such as an autograph session and photo day with the Blue Jays players. Purchase your membership kit at any Jay Shop location or by visiting jshop.ca. Buck?
Thank you very much, Barry Davis. As we go to the bottom of the second inning, no score here. It'll be Logan Morrison, Brandon Geyer, and Kevin Kiermaier for the Rays.
How about the intensity by which Sanchez finished off that first inning? Gave up a couple of hits. I mean, that's just the raw power that he possesses from that starting rotation.
I think, too, he was kind of thinking his way through that instead of trying to muscle his way through it. He didn't give up any velocity, but he made quality pitches. Got the curveball over to Longoria.
Huge.
That put curveball in the mind of the rest of the hitters the rest of that inning.
Yeah, Dickerson, especially. And that was a big strikeout, and then the pop out.
Logan Morrison, now 28 years old. He came over in a trade from the Seattle Mariners. His 107 batting average is the worst in the majors among qualified hitters. There are 200 qualified hitters in the league, and the next worst hitter is Kyle Seager at 143.
107.
107.
No home runs, no RBIs.
In fact, the Rays are the only team with 5 qualified players in the bottom 50 of major league hitters. And they're still 10 and 11.
Pitching. They're in the bottom third, if you will, in defense.
He goes after that breaking ball and strikes out. That curveball is a good weapon so far.
for the fences and save during the DIY Expert Sale. Only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
We are in the Tampa Bay area, specifically in St. Petersburg at Tropicana Field. Brandon Guyer gets the start tonight, and I asked Kevin Cash why Guyer over Jennings. He said Brandon hasn't played for a few days, and he's going to play against Jay Happ tomorrow. He said, so I wanted him to knock a little bit of the rust off tonight. Unfortunately, it's against Sanchez, but I think he'll take the at-bats.
Yeah, that's the bad news, that you've got to face a tough right-hander if you're Brandon Guyer. But managers will do that, though. Tell a guy that you're going to play against a left-hander instead of just sticking him in there that day. They'll play him a game before and help him try and get his timing.
Especially when you don't have many at-bats early in the season. There's that foul ball, and Russell couldn't hang on to the foul tip. That sinking fastball at 96 in a good spot.
That's the pitch that he was missing against Oakland. That sinker that was going underneath the right-hander's bats.
Bouncing ball. That's a fair ball. Base hit. Bautista was shaded in that direction. And they've got Guyer hung up now. Smoke takes the throw from Bautista, and they got him in a rundown. They should be able to retire the base runner as Donaldson makes the tag. And Bautista did a good job of shading that line over there. Early on, you see the Rays hitters have been late on his fastball, so Bautista was shaded toward the right field foul line.
You know, both of the corner outfielders are reading that pitch now from Aaron Sanchez. This ball gets deep on Guyer, and Guyer, it seems like everything he hits against the Blue Jays finds a hole. This plate right here by Bautista, I'd talked to him about this. Remember the first time we were in here with Kevin Kiermaier? He came up throwing, he threw behind him. The next day I went and asked him. He said, the next time that happens, I think I'm going to hold that ball and I'm going to watch what that runner does. I might even fake a throw to see if he moves and I can take advantage of it. And Jose, one of the smartest players on the Blue Jays, comes up with a big out.
Boy, he sure did, and he did it textbook too. And that's what Guyer was trying to do, get him to throw behind the runner. That's why he took that big turn.
He remembered that play from a couple of weeks ago. I mean, he's always thinking, because when I went and asked him, he said he had a plan. He said, I might hold it on him, I might come up, I might fake a throw, and then that runner is stuck out in the middle between first and second base. He says, I also might even run at him, and he did a little bit of that right there. Very smart.
That was a perfect play. Guyer knew exactly what he was doing. He was trying to draw Bautista into throwing it to first base, and then he would take off for second.
Let's take a look at it one more time. He's going to aggressively come around first base, and then when Bautista holds the ball, he's stuck in no man's land. Nowhere to go.
This is Kevin Kiermaier. He fouls it back. Kiermaier against Sanchez. 2 for 4 in limited at bats. Outside, it's a full count. That last pitch was 97 miles an hour. Ground ball. Goins to his left. Good play. Good job. Everybody's aware that you got to be quick with Kiermaier, and Sanchez is through the second inning. Goins has terrific range and a strong arm, just in time to get Kiermaier at first.
Is Lady Luck on your NHL team side? Find out who will get the first draft pick this Saturday as the fate of your team is revealed. Hockey Central Draft Lottery tomorrow, 7 o'clock Eastern on CBC. I think a lot of people are expecting Edmonton to get it again, Buck, but I hear this time they may trade the pick, so something different.
Always interesting, and of course we have just seen the NFL draft, and that's going to be the interesting NHL lottery draft, so make sure you check that out. Kevin Pillar, he had a heck of a homestand. He had 444 on the homestand, 8 for 18.
And spoken like a true hitter, says, I still don't feel right. Sometimes I have a good at bat, some days I don't feel good. Says I'm just not seeing it as consistently as I need to put up better numbers.
Isn't that interesting? See it first, and then you have a chance.
And then you have a chance. He feels like his swing will come around. A little bit tardy on that fastball.
Everybody on this team, I don't know what your impression is, but mine is they're all trying too hard. Everybody wants to capture the magic of September, and it's just the end of April. There's another pop-up. Long run for Souza. He gets there and makes the catch. Pillar is retired. That's 4 pop outs.
We were just talking about the play for Bautista last inning, and this is what we were talking about. He comes in and throws behind Kiermaier, and by then it's just too late, and Kiermaier's great speed gets him in the scoring positions. But a great ball player will recognize the mistakes that they made and then fix them. So when it comes up again, you'll know how to act. And Bautista did a perfect example there to wipe off that base runner.
Yeah, not only did he keep him from going to second, but he got him in a rundown. And they got him out. I think everybody in this division understands you got to be on your toes when you play in a division. There's a lot of teams that are very evenly matched.
And one small mistake or one small play ends up being a big play.
Kevin Cash, the manager of the Rays, goes on Major League Baseball radio after John Gibbons. Each week they do a weekly interview. And Cash was on last week after Gibbons. And he was saying, the radio host said, boy, don't you feel bad for John Gibbons? His team's not hitting a lick. Kevin says, are you killing me? Those guys over there, they're going to hit. I know they're not hitting right now, but I don't feel sorry for the Blue Jays. They're going to get their hits, just a matter of time. But it is a little bit disheartening for John Gibbons to see so many strikeouts. And it's different offense right now. But I think each team, each season, develops their own personality.
Yeah, you can't be thinking about last year. That last year's over. You might have the same guys and all that kind of stuff, but this is a new year. And I asked Gibby today, I said, you know, what do you do for the offense? And the one thing he said, what I can't do is start switching everybody around to try and get a spark, because that can be perceived by the ball players of panicking. He says, I can't panic. And right now he's walking a thin line. He wants to get his offense started, but he doesn't want to just start putting this guy here and that guy there and Donaldson leading off or whatever you want to, you know, think that could spark this team. And it's a tough job for the manager.
There are a lot of armchair quarterbacks that probably sat at home thinking Darwin Barney should start tonight against Drew Smiley. But you can't do that. You got some regulars, you let them play. Smiley with another strikeout.
Well, one of the reasons why he is piling up all these strikeouts, he's got a great breaking ball, and the opponent's batting average versus that off-speed pitch is just 161. That places him in the top 10 in the American League. Danny Salazar leads at lowest opponent's batting average this season on that breaking ball. Smiley can throw it down and into right-handers or backdoor to righties, down and away to lefties. And he's understanding pitching also. Saw a quote from him after the last time he played against the Blue Jays. He said, I can't give up 2 home runs to 2 different left-handed batters. He said in that lineup they have enough right-handed power that I can't let those lefties beat me, and one of the guys who beat him is standing at the plate right now.
Yeah, you've got to make sure that you make quality pitches to the left-handers, and if you don't, you give away your advantage. Lefty on left.
Well, they have so many great right-handed hitters. Donaldson, Bautista, Encarnacion, on and on and on. He said, when I get a chance to face a lefty, I better put him away.
There's a hard fastball hit deep to center field. Kiermaier's on the run. This ball is gone. Top of the fence and over for a home run. And again, Smiley having problems with Michael Saunders.
Homered the last time he faced him here in this ballpark, and homers again. 511 batters faced for Smiley in his career coming into this one. This game right here, 511 left-handed batters faced. He had only given up 11 career home runs. Michael Saunders gets him again.
Saunders has 3 home runs on the season, 2 against Drew Smiley. Both almost to the same spot. This one was a little bit more to the right side of center than his previous home run off Smiley.
Four-seamer. Four-seam fastball, and it is up. Blue Jays have popped up 4 times already today. That time Michael Saunders gets on top of it.
Just foul, ripped by Donaldson outside the bag at third. Saunders doing a nice job in that leadoff spot. He has really taken off with the batting average since they moved him into the #1 spot in the lineup. He's also held his own against lefty pitching. He's now 5 for 20. And of course you face some tough left-handers.
Yeah, he's put up great at bats. You know what I see when I watch him hit? No panic. Even if he falls behind in the count, there's no panic. He just stays within himself.
Changeup, that's off the end of the bat behind shortstop. Miller out. He makes it over the shoulder grab. That ends the inning. But the Blue Jays break out on top again for Smiley. The home run a problem against the Jays. And again for a second time this season, it's Michael Saunders to deep center field. Top of the fence and gone. Home run number 3 for Saunders. The Blue Jays with a 1-0 lead.
MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you've come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in true HD over 400 supported devices. Includes a free subscription to At-Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Buck?
Thank you very much, Barry Davis. Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead. Kurt Casale, one of the 2 catchers the Rays are carrying. Casale batting 146, and this ball is looped into right. Bautista got a good break and makes the catch. One down, let's check in with Jamie Campbell. He's got an update for us. First time the Yankees and Red Sox are meeting this season, and Alex Rodriguez home run number 4 on the season.
First time they're getting together?
Yep.
Seems late, doesn't it?
Yankees, Blue Jays and the Rays, they played the most AL East games. Red Sox and the Yankees, they play, well, we know how many times the Red Sox played the Blue Jays. They played them 7 times so far. Top of the order, this is Logan Forsythe. He had a leadoff single to start the game for Tampa Bay. Back-to-back singles, nobody out, but then Sanchez, a couple of strikeouts and a pop-out to end the first.
Forsythe is starting to swing the bat. They took him from lower in the lineup where he had success last year, and they needed a leadoff hitter, and he's done a good job for him. There are his numbers over his last 10 games, so he's starting to heat up. He's also hit over 300 versus the fastball this year. So that changeup and that curveball might play for Aaron Sanchez tonight versus Logan Forsythe.
Ball is driven into the alley and right, and Bautista is going to have to play it off the wall. Forsythe is on fire. He is 2 for 2 already tonight. That double is his 8th of the season.
The all-new Honda Civic, now available with Turbo, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg. Blue Jays are here for a second time already this season. Logan Forsythe with a double. He's 2 for 2 so far in this game.
Another fastball that he was all over again. He might have to start using the changeup or the curveball.
Brad Miller had a big at bat in his first time up. He fouled off several pitches and then looped one into center for a base hit. He's a good fastball hitter, but he couldn't really get turned around on that Sanchez heater. Two and 0. Now it's 3 and 0. All 3 of those pitches almost in the identical spot up and away.
Trying to work him away. And he just didn't finish those pitches. Almost like he was trying to guide that ball to the outer part of the plate.
4 straight wide ones and Miller walks. That's the first walk issued by Sanchez.
Gonna have to make the adjustments right there. Maybe throw a fastball on the inner half to the lefty so he can get back over the middle of the plate.
Evan Longoria struck out his first time up. Sanchez got him on a curveball. Goes after that first fastball and fouls it off. That's a pretty hittable pitch right up there, top of the zone.
Up. Times he gets a little bit long with his arm swing, and it drags just a little bit, and that's how he gets underneath the ball, and it ends up in the strike zone. When he's staying on top of that ball, keeping it down, he's very difficult to hit because he's got such great movement on that fastball.
That one's pulled foul. I don't care who you are or how hard you throw or how much movement you have on your fastball. You have to locate your pitches. Make good quality pitches.
I think that's the difference we're seeing in both of these starters tonight. Drew Smyly can throw the ball where he needs to get outs. Aaron's a little bit inconsistent with that.
Ball is hit to right, but Bautista backs up a couple of steps, makes the catch, and the runners hold. First out of the inning. Same scenario as the first inning. First two batters reach. Two's out. Excuse me. That's Kurt Casale. He flied out to start the inning. And then Logan Forsythe doubled and Miller walked.
He's not out of the woods yet. They got Longoria to fly out. Now they got to deal with Dickerson. And you know, Corey Dickerson is looking for that first pitch fastball right here. He might come out of his shoes if he swings at that first pitch fastball.
Dickerson caught looking at a fastball down and away for strike 3 his first time. Pretty much the same pitch.
That was a great pitch. That was a good first pitch to an RBI guy.
Took something off that pitch and got the foul tip. The Rays have been a dangerous team with 2 outs. 16 of the last 19 runs they have scored have come with 2 outs. So you can't sleep on the Rays when you think you're out of an inning.
Not at all. And their slugging percentage is the best in the American League with 2 outs.
Both pitches down and away. They stayed down with that curveball. This is where it's tempting to elevate the fastball, but Dickerson can jump on that high fastball.
He can get it, and Aaron's fastball has got some sink to it. You'd hate to elevate a fastball and then have it sink right into the middle of the strike zone. But I'm with you. Maybe tie him up inside, up and in. Maybe you could freeze him or tie that swing up just a little bit.
Got the fastball by him. 96. Strikeout number 4 for Sanchez. Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead as we head to the 4th. The big bats coming up for the Jays. Jose Bautista, Edwin Encarnacion, and Troy Tulowitzki. 1-0 Toronto.
Sign the Blue Jays fan board and have your cheer included in the Players Tunnel at Rogers Center. You can share your passion for Canada's team by visiting RogersCelebrates.com for more details. That board's getting very full, Buck, but I think there still might be room for a Buck Martinez, Pat Tabler signature somewhere in there.
We're going to sneak one in there, Barry, and it's a good board, and a lot of the ball players stop and have a look at it on their way to the field.
We're going to sign that, and you have to find it, Barry. It's like, where's Waldo? Right.
Ball on a strike to Jose Bautista, leading off the 4th inning. He went after that high fastball. That's something that the Rays gave to Smiley when he first got here from Detroit. The ability to throw this high fastball. They said, hey, when you do that, you give yourself a wide separation between your low breaking balls and that high fastball. Lots of area to cover.
But you have to get it up. I mean, if you miss down just a little bit, that's where you're going to get hurt. He has that unique ability to get up, get that ball up there in the strike zone and leave it up there, throw it where he needs to.
There's a drive to left field, but that's going to hang up for Brandon Gaillard. Bautista may have hit that one toward the end of the bat.
Took a little something off of that pitch. Just mid-70s. And Jose was out in front just a little bit. This guy's a good pitcher. They gave up David Price to get him. But the Rays, like they do so many times, could look into the future, their crystal ball, and they could see that Smiley was going to be a good addition to their pitching staff.
Well, when they moved Price, of course, they knew that they weren't going to be able to afford him. And Smiley was a young pitcher. They'd have control of him for a while. And it makes a lot of sense.
Pitchability, you hear that all the time in baseball. The pitchers, they have good stuff, but do they have pitchability? Can they throw it where they want to? This guy can't.
He did it right there on 3 pitches, a 3-pitch strikeout of our Encarnacion. 4 strikeouts for Smiley. You look at the starters ERA since August 1st of 2014. It's an impressive list. Smiley, Keuchel, Price, and Carlos Carrasco of the Indians. Interesting that Smiley and Keuchel were roommates at college, University of Arkansas. They're 1 and 2 on that list.
He got traded right around that time, right? The trade deadline, July of 2014. Since then, he's had the best ERA, like we just showed you. He's also had the lowest opponent's batting average.
Troy Tulowitzki struck out leading off the 2nd. This is a hook ball down the line, but it's a foul ball.
Here's something I didn't realize about Tulowitzki when I was looking at the numbers today on his season. He doesn't have a hit against a left-hander yet this year. Go figure.
This is the 7th left-handed starter the Blue Jays have faced.
Lefties with that breaking ball that comes into you, just so much easier for right-handed batters to hit against.
Another off-speed pitch, and Tulowitzki strikes out. A couple of strikeouts in a 1-2-3 inning for Drew Smiley. Only blemish for him so far, a home run. Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead for Aaron Sanchez.
For you may want to look into a Blue Jays ticket package. You pick the games and reserve seats to get you closer to the action. Starting from 10 games up to a prorated full season, the account executives will find the package that best suits your needs. Go to BlueJays.com to learn all about the great benefits of being a Blue Jays ticket package holder. Buck?
Thank you very much, Barry Davis. And of course, there's some great games coming up on the home schedule for the Blue Jays, including that Division Championship Series rematch. The Texas Rangers are in town starting on Monday, a 4-game series, and then the Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw and the Dodgers will be at Rogers Center Friday, Saturday, and Sunday next week.
The first place Texas Rangers and the first place Los Angeles Dodgers.
The Dodgers just were swept 4 straight by the Marlins. Don Mattingly, the former manager of the Dodgers, had to enjoy that.
They got some bad news today, didn't they?
Boy, they did. Baseball got some bad news today when Dee Gordon was suspended for 80 games. Of course, the second one during the season this year, and that's unfortunate. Gordon had a big hit against Kenta Maeda in that game last night. And then after the game, it was made public that he had been suspended for 80 games. Souza strikes out. 1 out. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell.
Number 7, the first baseman, Logan Morrison. You're never gonna die. I just wanted
to. Carlos Rodon, another young lefty. 1 hit over 4 innings and 5 strikeouts against no walks.
Can they pitch?
They
in
can
Chicago?
pitch.
Wow.
Brandon Guyer. Brandon Guyer.
It's Logan Morrison.
Logan Morrison.
On the left side.
That's what I'm thinking. What's he doing? Logan Morrison, of course, he struck out on a curveball his first time up, and now Sanchez evens the count at 1-1. The Rays made some decisions about their makeup of their team. They wanted to bring in more offenses, so they brought in Logan Morrison. They stepped with Kurt Casale behind the plate. They gave up James Loney, their veteran first baseman, and it hasn't worked out so far. Morrison doesn't have an RBI yet.
He's a dangerous hitter who has put up decent home run numbers when he was with the Marlins and when he was with Seattle, but you know, maybe coming over here like some of the Blue Jay players, you're trying too hard, you're trying to impress, trying to get it all back with one swing, and hasn't worked for him. But he's a good major league hitter.
He had 225 last year for the Mariners, had 17 homers and 54 RBIs. He had 262 in 2014, but only 11 home runs and 38 RBIs. It's not like they brought in a 100 RBI guy to take over for James Loney.
Yeah, that's the surprising thing. James Loney is what, a career 290 hitter with Gold Glove type of defense. So surprised a little bit about that.
There's a big breaking curveball. Tulowitzki has to come quickly, and he does. What a play by Tulowitzki. All the way over on the left side of the second base position to throw out Morrison, and that's just exactly how Morrison's season has gone.
There is Tulowitzki at the top of your screen, and he recognizes that this ball is not hit very hard, and Ryan Goins, who was out in short right field, was not going to get to that ball. Tulo says it's taken him a while to understand the shift to play on that side of the field of the diamond because he'd never played any other position but shortstop. He looked fine that time.
Fastball away. This is Brandon Guyer. Guyer singled to Bautista in right, and then Bautista did a heck of a job of getting Guyer hung up between first and second. They got him in a rundown. This ground ball to Tulowitzki, and that'll do it. 3 up, 3 down. The Rays go quietly in the bottom of the 4th. The Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead as we head to the 5th. Now time for Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn from the
WestJet Blue Jays Flyaway contest is now on. Enter for a chance to cheer on the Blue Jays in Boston with WestJet. Go to bluejays.com/WestJet Flyaway to enter. And Tanaka pitching tonight at Fenway Park, and so far he's pitching very well there.
He has a 1-0 lead, and Tanaka is holding up. Everybody's been holding their breath with that bad elbow, but so far just 1 hit in 3 innings and 2 strikeouts. Justin Smoke popped out to the shortstop in shallow left field his first time. Smoke, a switch hitter, of course, batting right-handed against Drew Smyly. We mentioned Smyly is the 7th lefty to start against the Blue Jays this season. They are 2-4 against left-hand starters. Smyly and Moore started in the 4-game series at the beginning of the season. Smyly in game 2 of that 4-game series, Moore in game 4.
Blue Jays are going to miss Matt Moore in this series.
I don't know how much you're going to miss him.
I think they're going to be real happy that they're missing the way he's been throwing.
Boy, he is dealing, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
He and Jake Odorizzi there on the rail of the dugout, and I spoke to Matt Moore. Chris Archer will go tomorrow. He's the 3rd of those 3 starters. Odorizzi goes on Sunday. Matt Moore, coming back from Tommy John surgery, has really opened up the eyes of the hitters around the league again. He is throwing as hard as any starter in baseball. He is averaging 94 miles an hour, better than Chris Sale. Another pop up into shallow center. Forsythe going out. He calls for it, and the second baseman makes the catch. Well, Russell Martin, he struck out in the 2nd. That ended the inning, and that was the 8th consecutive strikeout for Martin. That's a franchise record for the Blue Jays. You can see he was tied with 3 other players: Colby Rasmus, Alex Rios, and Juan Francisco.
He's dealing with some neck spasms, and if you watch him hit, you can tell he is struggling to swing the bat. I mean, there's some injury concerns, but this guy's out here. He's catching. He's playing a very tough position at catcher, and you can tell he's not 100%.
Well, you can see how he looks to the pitcher, and what you want to do is you want to square up your head to the pitcher so you can get both eyes on him, and he just can't freely square it up. But give Russell credit, he is in there. He's not backing off, and he figures like during this tough time he's got to be out there trying to get his team turned around. Smyly has 5 strikeouts so far.
This is when you would love to cut down that swing just a little bit. You're at 2 strikes. You want to make contact. Russell, when he is shooting that ball the other way, he's so successful. This is the perfect time to do it against a left-handed pitcher who's going to throw a lot of strikes.
Smyly has had several pitches that he thought were strikes, and you can see
he's not happy.
Just off the plate. Yep.
He's not happy. The last couple of batters with some of the calls by the home plate umpire, Mark Rippicher.
There's a changeup, and Martin strikes out. 6 strikeouts now for Smyly.
That was a 3-2 breaking ball, and there's something going on between the umpire and Smyly. After he struck him out, he looked back into home plate, and now that's going to cost Kevin Cash.
Kevin Cash defending his pitcher. We had seen several instances early in this game where Smyly showed his disagreement with the umpire, and Kevin Cash, a former catcher, said, wait a minute, you can't be getting on my starting pitcher like that. Joe West, the crew chief, checking in with Ripperger behind home plate. But Cash has been ejected. And watch the reaction of the pitcher.
Watch smiling. That is directed right at the home plate umpire. Now his back is to him and he's walking away from him. And I think the umpire might have taken offense to that and said something. That brought Kevin Cash out.
Yeah, Kevin was just trying to make sure Smiley didn't get ejected. That's why he came out. Kevin Pillar, that shift was playing right up the middle, and he grounds out to end the inning. After the home run in the third, Drew Smiley has retired 7 straight. He trails 1-0.
Because that day, our one and only Buck Martinez will be signing copies of his new book, Change Up, from noon to 1 at Jay's Shop, Center Field, Toronto Eaton Center, Level 1. Buck, I am looking so forward to reading the book. My free copy, is that still caught in the mail?
It is, Barry. Well, maybe I haven't sent it just yet.
Oh.
We'll take care of it.
You lost his address.
Can I get the free signature at least? I'll be there at 5 a.m. in line, okay?
All right. That's a deal. Kevin Kiermaier, he's a threat to bunt in this situation. Takes the first pitch strike. Kiermaier can drag that bunt up the first baseline and smokes even with the bag at first. Now he backs up a few steps. Kiermaier won the Platinum Glove Award in the American League that recognizes the best defensive player at any position. Pulled on the ground. Smoke backs up. He better hurry. Just in time to get Kiermaier. Sanchez was there covering the bag. 1 down.
It's time to convert your big outdoor tasks into short, effortless work. Make the great outdoors even greater with Honda Power Equipment.
Beautiful sunset here in the Florida Gulf Coast area. Just off the Clearwater Beach area. Kurt Casale, the number 9 hitter in Kensher. First pitch strike. Casale, originally drafted by the Tigers, came up and had a power season last year. Hit 10 home runs.
Big, strong guy who can elevate the baseball.
Backhanded by Donaldson. 2 up, 2 down quickly here in the 5th.
This is the type of game that Aaron Sanchez had his first go around against Tampa Bay. I mean, he was dealing, using that fastball, keeping it down, getting a lot of strikeouts. Unfortunately for him, he pitched 7 innings, gave up 1 earned run, and got a no decision. Left that ball game with the lead. There it is right there, a no decision, 8 punch-outs and no walks. Bullpen gave up a 2-run home run late, and he got a no decision.
Logan Forsythe takes one high, and it goes all the way back to the screen. Forsythe is 2 for 2. He's on a hot streak. His average up to 325. The double he hit in the third, his 8th double of the season. Changeup into the dirt. Are you pleased with the velocity of Aaron's changeup lately? It seems like it's a little bit softer.
That one was 88. I saw an 88 earlier today. He said, I'd like to get it down to the 86 area. And I'm throwing it just a little bit too hard. I think if he learns that changeup, throws it where he needs to, and gets just enough movement, he'll then have 3 pitches. They aren't all consistent where they should be. But his stuff is outstanding, and if he can harness those 3 pitches, he's going to be tough.
He walks Forsythe, who's been on base all 3 times he's come to the plate tonight. Second walk issued by Sanchez. I think one thing we all have to remember, and that's you and I included, is the fact this is Aaron's 16th big league start.
16th. That's not even a full season.
It's barely a half a season, and you're going to have some ups and downs. There are going to be some growing pains. There's going to be some games where everything is easy, and there's going to be games where it's a struggle, like his last time out against Oakland.
Yeah, and he just did not have an idea how he could get the ball down and start to get the movement, and you chalk that up to experience. That's what it is.
Brad Miller, he walked on 4 pitches in the third. He singled in the first. That changeup was 92 and well out of the zone. That's going to get a visit from his catcher.
6 in a row he's missed after 2 quick outs. Yeah, once he harnesses those pitches and he's able to throw the ball consistently where he wants to, he'll be a big winner in the big leagues. Pete knows. Pete Walker, we had a shot of him right there. He knows that there's going to be some growing pains.
The Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead. We're in the bottom of the 5th with 2 outs. The Blue Jays have 1 hit. A Michael Saunders solo home run. There goes the runner. Ball is down. Russell Martin's throw is off the glove, but Tulowitzki is there to back up the play. Throw tailed on Russell into the base runner, and Goins got a glove on it to slow it down a little bit. Tulowitzki was backing up the play to keep Forsythe from going to third.
Third stolen base of the season for Forsythe, and I think Forsythe sensed that Aaron Sanchez concentration was on the batter and not him at first base. And look at the jump. Pretty tough to throw him out with that type of jump right there.
Three-0 count. There's a strike. Evan Longoria is on deck. Like to end the inning right here. Keep Longoria standing right there.
I'd like to see him bat with nobody on base.
Two tough pitches after missing with the first 3 of the at-bat. Now it's a full count. Forsythe's a good base runner. He'll be off on contact. Donaldson, another backhanded play and a strong throw. So the Rays will leave a runner in scoring position. We've played 5 complete here in Tampa Bay, and the Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead. Thank you very much, Jamie Campbell. Drew Smyly, 1 ground ball out, 8 fly ball outs, and 6 strikeouts so far in this game. Number 9 hitter Ryan Goins will lead things off. He was a strikeout victim in the 3rd.
6 of those fly ball outs are pop-ups to an infielder. Just have not been able to get on top of that high fastball and get it into the outfield. Of course, Drew Smyly's got a great record against the American League East. Toughest division, I think, in baseball. He's got a great record against him and a great earned run average.
Goins tries to bunt. For his career, Smyly has a 10-2 record against the East. 6-2 pitching for the Rays with a 2.02 earned run average.
Pretty sterling numbers, and he says, I think I'm just starting to understand the hitters, starting to understand myself, and I am now being able to continue my game plan, if you will. I've got a game plan and I can continue to execute it when I'm out there on the field.
Called strike 3 on Goins. 7 strikeouts, 1 out. Back to the top of the order. The man responsible for the only run in this ball game, Michael Saunders, will step up.
Saunders gets a pitch that's up. Remember we talked to you about Smyly trying to get outs in the upper part of the strike zone. Well, he keeps the bat head through the strike zone and finishes high, and that allows you to get that ball into the outfield, which he does with the home run. The only player so far tonight to touch home plate.
1 out. Saunders goes after that first pitch. With that home run, Saunders has now hit 2 home runs against Drew Smyly. He has 2 home runs against 4 pitchers now in his career. Drew Smyly, Colin McHugh, Chris Tillman, and R.A. Dickey. The only pitchers that he has hit multiple home runs against.
And how many home runs versus lefties? Which is, I think, a really nice telling stat for him.
17 career home runs against left-handed pitching. His 54th career home run came back in the 3rd.
That's pretty good.
Good ratio.
Yeah. Good left-handed batter versus left-handed pitching, staying on that ball.
We're in the 6th. Blue Jays have only 1 hit. That was the Saunders home run in the 3rd. But they lead in the only column that's important. The runs. Off speed. You see Smyly kind of slow his delivery down on that last pitch. I have noticed that on the last couple of changeups. Like he's really kind of slowed the arm down a little bit.
Believe me, hitters will pick up on that. They'll go back up there and see that and maybe try to incorporate that in one of their bats. Smyly says, I understand hitters a little bit better now, how to set them up and then finish them off.
He got that pitch where he wanted it. That one was inside and ties up Saunders. Back-to-back strikeouts here in the 6th.
You know, we talk about pitchers getting underneath the bat of certain hitters to pick up strikeouts. There's also a time where you got to get above the hands and above the barrel of the bat to get strikeouts. That's a perfect example of it. Watch where this ball is. Swings right over the top of it, right underneath it. The ball goes right over the top of his bat.
Josh Donaldson has 2 fly ball outs. 0 for 2. Donaldson is all over the American League offensive leaderboards. He is tied. There are 5 players tied in the American League with 7 home runs, 1 behind the leader, Robinson Cano of the Mariners, who has 8. Donaldson at the start of play tied with Colby Rasmus, 19 home runs, again second to Cano. Donaldson is the leader in runs scored with 21. Boy, that was a good changeup. He sold that one very effectively.
Great arm speed. And he put it in a good spot. Jim Hickey has done a great job with this young left-hander. All the strikeouts are nice, but they get that pitch count up.
Donaldson high and deep to left, and you can forget about this one. Home run number 8 for Donaldson. It hit the ring and bounced back on the field, but that's a home run. I believe it hit the C-ring, the second from the field, and it was a no-doubter.
Yeah, those 2 bottom rings, if you hit it with the baseball and it's in fair territory, that's a home run. And Josh Donaldson finally got a pitch on the inner half, something that was up, and he got on top of that one. A couple of solo home runs for the Blue Jays tonight have put him in the lead.
Donaldson ties Cano with number 8.
One more time. They want that ball down and away, and it's up. And he's hit a few of those in his career. He knows what they feel like. That was a bomb to left field. If it didn't hit that ring, I wanted to see how far that thing was going to go.
That was going to go on that raised walkway behind those seats in left field. That's the second time a hitter has hit that C-ring in left field this season. Bautista lifts one high in the air. Kiermaier in the alley waits for it and makes the catch, but Donaldson, with his 8th home run of the season, has given Aaron Sanchez a 2-run lead. 2 solo home runs tonight. Donaldson gets that high fastball and drills it off the C-ring. A deep home run to left. Is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Aaron Sanchez, 4 hits, 5 runs, 4 hits in 5 innings, no runs, and he has really done a nice job tonight, bouncing back after a tough outing against Oakland.
Love to see him have some quick innings here. 6th inning, 7th inning, one of those, 7, 8, 9 pitch innings, so he can stick around. I think Drew Smiley's night's over after that home run.
He was up near 100 pitches. Steve Geltz loosening up for the Rays, and it looks like you're right. It might be the end of the night for Drew Smiley.
And right after that home run by Donaldson, Geltz went down there, started getting loose.
Longoria pulls it to his former college teammate, Troy Tulowitzki, 1 down. Tulowitzki and Donaldson played at Long Beach State University in California. Pretty good left side of the infield in college.
Longo was at third base and Tulowitzki was at shortstop. That's what you want to see. Ground balls early in the count.
Corey Dickerson. He's got connections with Tulowitzki as well. They were teammates in Colorado. Slow breaking ball, he fouls it off. In fact, that bat that Dickerson is using is the same model as Troy Tulowitzki, and Tulowitzki suggested the change back in 2014. Dickerson said, I didn't feel comfortable with it right away, and Tulo said, stick with it. You'll get comfortable with it, and it's a good bat.
It's the C271?
Yeah.
Great bat.
It's been around a long time.
Long time. A nice medium-sized handle, not too thick, not too thin. And it's the barrel isn't too big. It's about, you know, a medium-sized barrel, but the weight distribution feels really good in your hands.
It's got a flared knob on it, which a lot of guys like. You see that knob, how it flares out at the bottom, and it really kind of fills up that power hand, your bottom hand, and it really sits nicely up against that fatty part of your bottom hand. Ground ball. Donaldson has to circle around it, throws on the run just in time to get Dickerson. Josh Donaldson moving around quite a bit tonight.
Boy, what a play by Donaldson. They were in the shift, if you will, with Tulowitzki playing up the middle, so Donaldson had the whole left side of the infield. Catches the ball going to his right. There he is, and then throws on the run, and accurately right up at the chest area of Justin Smoak, where he can stretch for that ball and make the play.
Two outs. Fastball up and into Souza. Souza has popped out to the catcher and struck out. Donaldson has this one kick off his glove. It's a base hit for Souza, the infield variety.
And Josh Donaldson cannot believe he didn't come up with that ball. Thought it was in his glove. Thought like it might have popped in his glove and then out. One more time. It's a quick move to his left. He just didn't get the glove open enough. Hits on top of the glove. Watch it. It's open and hits right off of the thumb. And he couldn't believe he didn't make that play.
This is a difficult infield, and all the infielders around the league will tell you it's just a hard surface on the dirt. Two outs. Logan Morrison. Blue Jays playing this shift on Morrison. Goins is out in right field, and Tulowitzki to the right side of second up the middle. Tulowitzki made a terrific play on a slow chopper off the bat of Morrison back in the fourth inning. 1-1 now to the big first baseman. Two to nothing Blue Jays. Aaron Sanchez taking advantage of a couple of solo home runs. Michael Saunders got it started. His came in the third, and Josh Donaldson hit his 8th of the season. That came in the top half of the 6th. Erasmo Ramirez is on the right. He has started to throw alongside Steve Geltz.
That fastball just overpowered him. Right in on his hands. Aaron should be nice and rested. He last pitched a week ago. With the off day and the extra start by one of the pitchers, he's well rested.
So fly ball to left. Saunders is there, and he makes the catch. The inning is over. An infield hit with 2 outs, but no further damage. We'll go to the 7th. Aaron Sanchez and the Blue Jays lead it 2-0.
Fan Sportsnet is giving you a chance to capture the cup. Sportsnet is providing fans with the opportunity to win a trip to the Stanley Cup Finals. We're giving away a pair of tickets, including flights and accommodation, inside every series of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The more you watch, the more chances you have to win. Capture the cup with Sportsnet. What a fantastic giveaway that is, Buck.
Boy, it sure is. Great opportunity to hit the Stanley Cup Finals, and lots of games on Sportsnet, so make sure you check it out and get registered for that great contest. New pitcher into the ballgame. Steve Geltz making his 7th appearance of this season in relief of the starter, Drew Smyly.
Lefties 111 batting average, righties 200. He's only given up 3 hits all season long, but 2 of them have been home runs. His fastball's got some pop to it, some late pop to it, but he will give up his share of home runs because his fastball's right over the top. He also splits his fingers for a split changeup. Throws hard. He's not a real big guy, but he throws very hard.
He was signed as a non-drafted free agent at the University of Buffalo, New York. Going 2 to Encarnacion. Checked his swing. The appeal down to Joe West. No swing.
Who appealed that? Did Casale or did Encarnacion?
Edwin, check it first. Breaking ball inside. Geltz is from a small town in western New York, Ransomville, New York. Population 1,400. Very small town, and had a chance to play at State University, New York at Buffalo. He was actually signed by the Angels, and the scout that signed Mike Trout also signed Steve Geltz.
A couple of big leaguers.
That's the bottom line. They end up in the big leagues. Interesting start for Drew Smyly. Smyly, 8 strikeouts tonight. And Encarnacion takes a leadoff walk. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell.
Shortstop, number 2, Troy Tulowitzki.
Yeah, I hope he can finish the 5th, Jamie. Wow, what a breakout game. Cespedes with 6 RBIs. Michael Conforto, he's 2 for 3 with a couple of ribbies. Mets are swinging the bats a little bit.
It's a pretty good combination with their pitching.
Jim Hickey, he came out of that dugout very quickly after that first ball to Tulowitzki.
He's thrown 5 pitches, or excuse me, 8 pitches. 5 of them have been balls. And finishing up on Drew Smyly, 8 strikeouts in 6 innings. His streak of at least 7 innings pitches snapped at 3.
But with the 8 strikeouts, he now has 41 strikeouts in the month of April, and that ties a franchise record. Also, David Price in April of 2014 had 41 strikeouts in the month of April. This is popped up and playable. Right side of the infield. Logan Forsythe, second baseman, calls for it, makes the catch. So Smyly, you say, man, you only gave up 2 hits. Should have been a good game. 2 solo home runs, and that's the only score of this ball game as he leaves after 6. Smyly threw 99 pitches, had 1 walk, 8 strikeouts, and the solo home runs by Saunders in the 3rd and Donaldson in the 6th. The only runs of the ball game.
If he could have gotten 1 more inning, that would have tied him for the longest streak of his career, throwing of at least 7 innings in a ball game.
There's another pop-up. This off the bat of Justin Smoke. Longoria, the only defender on that side of the infield. He makes the catch. 2 pop-outs, and Blue Jays have been popping up all night long. They did it against Smyly. 3 pop-ups in the 1st, another in the 2nd, 2 in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th, and a couple here in the 7th. Just missing that pitch.
Just missing it. And both of those pitchers, Smyly and Geltz, will use the fastball at the top part of the strike zone.
Russell Martin, 2 more strikeouts tonight. There's a line drive to right. That'll snap that streak of 9 straight strikeouts as Russell Martin goes back to what's good for him.
Yeah. Notice where the base hit is. Waited just a little bit longer and was able to shoot that ball to right field. That's his strength. Now he stayed on that ball just a little bit longer. Let it get in on him. Shoot it to right field.
That's just the 3rd hit for the Blue Jays tonight. The Rays have out-hit them 5-3. Two outs for Kevin Pillar. Kevin is 0 for 2 so far. As we mentioned, Blue Jays have managed just 3 hits. The left-hander and former Blue Jay Dana Evans starts to loosen them. Top of the 7th inning. Pilar didn't think it was a strike.
2-0 slider.
Pretty good look at it, yeah.
2-0 slider. That's respect right there.
Time called before Geltz was into his delivery.
Geltz doesn't give up many hits. Last year, batters only hit 192 against him, and he's at it again this season. That was just the 4th hit given up.
Fly ball deep to center. Kiermaier back at the warning track. He is there, and the inning is over. The Blue Jays will strand the pair. We'll go to the bottom of the 7th there, and Sanchez with a 2-0 lead.
Blue Jays on Sportsnet. Presented by the all-new Honda Civic, now available with Turbo, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Welcome back to Florida. It's been a fast game. We're in the bottom of the 7th already. Aaron Sanchez has shut out the Rays on 5 hits, 93 pitches, and as Pat mentioned, he's pitching on extra rest. Drew Hutchison came up and pushed the entire rotation back. He made a start against Oakland.
And they had an off day yesterday. Still don't think that's going to make him go much further past 100 pitches. I mean, the Blue Jays have really stuck to that over the last few years.
As we have mentioned, this is just the 16th career start for Sanchez. Right back to the mound. Geyer's retired on the comebacker. Blue Jays bullpen starting to work. That is Drew Storen, who is loosening up. Might see a little different wrinkle if Storen gets into the game tonight. Using a little bit of a windup with his hands, trying to turn things around.
We had a nice talk with him today, so if he's in the game, we'll talk about that. First things first, Sanchez got to get through the 7th.
Kevin Kiermaier. He was retired on a good play by Goins in the 2nd. He's grounded out twice, both to the right side of the diamond. There's a breaking ball in there and a beauty.
He's got a good curveball.
He's got a nice rhythm tonight. No rush in his delivery. There's a base hit. Kiermaier, big turnaround first, as is always the case with him.
Right after that beautiful curveball to get it to 0-2, he throws a fastball right down the middle. Thought he might go back to that curveball just to give him something different. He tries the heater. It's down the middle and it's into center field for a base hit.
So just like that, the potential tying run comes to the plate. It's a 2-0 game. Kurt Casale. 0 for 2.
You know what else a potential it is? Potential for a double play. Get that good sinking fastball down. Let your infield do their thing. This next pitch will be pitch number 100 of the night.
Sinker low. Ball and a strike. Blue Jays haven't turned a double play tonight. Rays are tough to double up. I don't think that's the case with Casale batting. The Rays have only grounded into 8 double plays this season. That's the fewest in the American League. You see Brett Cecil has joined Drew Storen. A ball and 2 strikes on the catcher, number 9 hitter, Kurt Casale.
Last time up, he threw him a curveball that he hit down to the third baseman. Also looks like he wants a fastball away here.
Good pitch, good result. 2 down.
Swing for the fences and save during the DIY Expert Sale. Only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
Night has fallen on St. Petersburg, and we are in the bottom of the 7th with 2 outs, and this man has been tough. Logan Forsythe, the second baseman, has reached base all 3 times he's come to the plate. A single, a double, and a walk. Ground ball. Tulowitzki with the backhand across the diamond. Look at that throw on their money. Tulowitzki can throw it from whatever angle he is in. Throws a strike to Justin Smoke to close out the Rays in the 7th. One of the most accurate arms in all of baseball. That ends the bottom of the 7th.
Fans, the day before you go meet Buck Martinez to get your new book signed, why not head to the Rogers Center on Thursday, May 5th? It is Throwback Thursday T-shirt night presented by Honda. The first 15,000 fans will receive one of these beauties, commemorating that great Game 5 against the Texas Rangers of the ALDS. And it is a rematch, Blue Jays-Rangers 707. Go to bluejays.com for tickets. Buck?
Pretty handy they're giving those shirts away on the final day of that 4-game series. This is Dana Evelyn, 32-year-old left-hander, originally from Olympia, Washington. Brian Goins goes after the first pitch. Evelyn throws to first. One pitch, one out for the Rays here in the top of the 8th. So Aaron Sanchez with a strong outing gets a congratulatory handshake from John Gibbons. Sanchez, no runs on 6 hits. Good bounce back game for him after a short outing last time out against Oakland.
Very good bounce back game. He's pounding that strike zone with that fastball. I thought his curveball was outstanding tonight. And now bullpen's got to make it stand up so he can get the win.
Michael Saunders takes a first pitch strike from Dana Evelyn.
Dana Evelyn, not really overpowering. Got to hit his spots. There's a curveball. You mentioned he's 32 years old. He's also the oldest pitcher on their active roster at just 32 years old.
Spent parts of 11 seasons in the major leagues. He's proof that if you're left-handed and you can throw strikes, you can pitch a long time. He spent 2 years with his original club, the Milwaukee Brewers, 2 more years in Oakland, and then parts of single seasons in Arizona, Tampa Bay, the Mets, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Dodgers, Baltimore, and Toronto. Played with all those teams.
So you're saying he's well traveled.
He's got a nice little memorabilia collection of uniforms. For his career, been in 162 games now. Michael Saunders hangs in on that breaking ball, high and deep to right. Souza at the wall, jumps, home run. Michael Saunders with another home run against the lefty pitcher. His second home run of the game, and he has found a sweet spot in the top of this order.
Boy, what a swing, and the approach was the thing that was so impressive with Michael Saunders on that breaking ball. We mentioned the home runs that he has hit in his career versus left-handed pitching, and you do that with good fundamentals at the plate. That front shoulder stayed in there against that curveball, and he hit it a long way. Watch him. He doesn't give any ground. Stays right there and pulls that ball into the seats for a home run. He can break it down now, get into that home run trot after that swing.
For Michael Saunders, that's his 6th career multi-home run game. Home runs number 3 and 4 of the season in this ball game. Josh Donaldson. Josh homered his last time up. He hit the C ring high above the field in left field. It's the second ring from the playing field here at Tropicana Field. And it was headed for parts unknown.
Tampa. Into the bay. That thing was way up there. Looked like it was still rising when it hit that ring.
It's the second ball that's hit the C ring here at Tropicana Field this season. The other was hit by Brett Lord of the White Sox. And you see anything that strikes the lower, the D ring, or the one above it, the C ring, in fair territory is ruled a home run. Josh Donaldson with that home run has tied Robinson Cano for the American League lead with 8. Off the glove, back to the screen. Full count. 1 out. We're in the 8th. Jose Bautista. who's on deck. Jose 0 for 2 with a walk. His 21st walk of the season.
What a month Josh Donaldson is putting together. He's got to be getting some votes for player of the month.
Donaldson will take ball 4 inside. So Donaldson's at first, 1 out. We're in the 8th. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell.
With the Blue Jays anywhere. Simply download the Sportsnet app and stay up to speed with live pitch tracker, in-depth stats, exclusive video highlights, plus live stream on the go. Download for free today. Buck.
Thank you, Barry Davis. We are in the top of the 8th inning. The Blue Jays have gotten another home run from Michael Saunders, his 2nd of the game. This is Ryan Webb making his 7th appearance.
Big right-hander has pitched in 6 games, and Tampa Bay has been trailing in all 6 games when he enters in. Throws hard. He's got a nasty sinker. The reason he's in the game here against Bautista, they're looking for a ground ball. Just 1 out, runner at first base.
Interesting move when you look at the matchup numbers. Dana Eveland had held Bautista 0 for 2, and I know it's a very small sampling, but Jose 3 for 7 against Webb with a home run.
Kevin Cash, the manager of the Tampa Bay Rays, has a lot of respect for the Blue Jays offense, especially 2-3-4. And he's always worried about when they're coming up, and I think whenever you can make a pitching change, a right on right, or a guy who throws a little bit harder against these guys, you have to make that change. The last thing he wanted to do was leave Eveland in there and see Bautista take him deep.
Breaking ball in the dirt, 2-1 now. That's a good point, because you give a slugger a different look when he comes to the plate late in the game, and you never know how challenging that's going to be for them to make the adjustment.
He's got a great sinker if he can throw it consistently in the strike zone.
Ground ball through the left side for a base hit. Donaldson will stop at 2nd. So that strategy didn't work. They got the ground ball, but Bautista found the hole on the left side.
Blue Jays know all about that ball finding the hole. It seems like the whole 3 games against the Chicago White Sox, everything they hit found a hole. This time Gets it by Longoria and by Miller in the left field for his first hit of the night.
So now Edwin Encarnacion, the Blue Jays now with 5 hits, but they still trail Tampa Bay 6-5 in that department. Edwin is 0 for 2 with a walk and a strikeout. Ground ball toward third. Longoria has to come in quickly and unloads in time to retire Encarnacion. The runners move up, but now there are 2 outs.
Shortstop, number 2.
Longoria is still one of the best over there at third base, making all the plays. Throw on the run, field with one hand, go to your left, right, doesn't matter. He can still do it over there at third.
2 outs now. A couple of big runs out there for the Blue Jays. They have a 3-0 lead. Troy Tulowitzki 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. Tulowitzki has had a lot of success against Webb. He's 4 for 5 against the big right-hander with a home run.
And they could use a hit right here. Something that has been missing, I think, for this offense is that clutch 2-out base hit. Perfect time for it.
The perfect time for Tulowitzki. He has 10 RBIs, still hitting under 200. The Blue Jays as a team batting .225 with runners in scoring position.
It's been a problem. They have not been able to come up with that big base hit. If he wants to take a shot, the right side of the infield is wide open.
Off the plate. Justin Smoak, switch hitter, on deck. The Rays bullpen is quiet.
Yeah, this is Ryan Webb's inning right here.
Breaking ball for a strike. It counts full. Throw it 3-1. Chances are you're going to see it 3-2. Donaldson's at third. Bautista at second. Blue Jays have scored a run here in the 8th on Saunders' second home run of the ball game. Ball 4. That'll load the bases. So Webb has come in, given up a base hit, gotten the ground ball out. Now he has walked Tulowitzki to load the bases for Justin Smoak. Smoak looking for his first home run of the season. He's popped up 3 times tonight, all as a right-handed hitter against Drew Smyly.
Don't need anything dramatic right here. All you need is to come up with a hit. You don't need a double. You don't need a home run.
Actually, Smoak popped out his last time against Steve Geltz, who pitched the 7th. Smyly was gone after 6.
He does have that one grand slam that you see right there. That was in New York last season.
Inside, 1-1. First game of a 3-game series against the Tampa Bay Rays. These two clubs split the 4 games in the season opening series the first week of April. Base hit to right. Donaldson's in to score. Here comes Bautista. Here's the throw from Souza. It's cut off. They'll go to third, and Tulowitzki is out, but the run scores. Both runs score as that third out was recorded after Bautista crossed home plate. John Gibbons is out of the dugout. They're going to take a look at that play at third base. The Rays are being held on the field. Tulowitzki slid into a tag at third, but the Blue Jays are going to check it on the replay. Justin Smoke with a 2-run single to right. And the Blue Jays will not review it. Here's the play at third. Longoria slaps the tag on Tulowitzki before he reaches the bag. That ends the inning. But the Blue Jays now have a 5-0 lead. Drew Storen is into the ball game, and here's the Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn from the Samsung broadcast studio. Drew Storen is into the ball game here in the 8th inning. This will be his 10th appearance of the season. He's gotten off to a bit of a slow start. You can see the batting average is much higher than you would expect, but he is working on some adjustments.
Yeah, when you have those type of numbers, the next thing you do, you go back to the drawing board. And one of the things that Storen was telling me today is I'm going to go back to the windup that I used to incorporate when there were nobody on base. Remember, he was going out of the stretch position always. Now he says he's going to go out of the windup like he did when he was a younger player, and says it just gives me more rhythm.
There's a high fly ball to right, and this ball is way back. Brad Miller with a leadoff home run, his second home run of the season.
Second home run of the year for Miller. I told you he can hit a fastball. And he is hunting fastballs whenever he steps into that batter's box. That gets the Rays on the board. Tampa's actually out-hit the Blue Jays tonight, but they trail by 4.
It was their 7th hit there on the board. 5-1 Jays. Evan Longoria takes one outside. Miller had 11 home runs last year. And it was for Seattle. Evan Longoria is 0 for 3 so far in this game. Outside with a breaking ball. It's 2-1.
He says what that windup is going to help him do. He feels like it can get some rhythm going. And he also thinks that he should be able to throw a little bit harder. The velocity go up just a little bit more.
Looked like a pretty good pitch. He didn't get to call on that high slider.
Russell Martin letting him know it too.
Storen was acquired in January from the Washington Nationals for Ben Revere. That's a good fastball. Corey Dickerson, the DH, he's on deck. 3-2 pitch to Longoria. He fouls it back. Storen picked up his first save of the season in Boston on the 18th of April. Roberto Osuna had a cracked nail, and Storen picked up the save on Patriots Day. Got David Ortiz looking at strike 3. Longoria strikes out. Aaron Sanchez went 4 1/3 in his previous start, but he bounced back very effectively tonight against the Rays.
7 solid innings, 6 hits, no earned runs, just a couple of walks and 6 strikeouts. He was pounding it with his fastball. I also thought his curveball was very good tonight. It was free and easy coming out of his hand. And now with the left-hander coming up, John Gibbons is going to go back to the bullpen.
So Storen strikes out Longoria, first out of the inning. Brett Cecil, lefty, he'll come in to face Corey Dickerson, a powerful left-handed hitter, getting some information from the hitting coach. With 1 out, Blue Jays have a 5-1 lead. We'll be back. Drew Storen gave up a home run to Brad Miller, but then bounced back and struck out Evan Longoria. Corey Dickerson, a powerful left-handed bat, so John Gibbons decided to go lefty on lefty. He's got Roberto Osuna warming up in the Jays bullpen. It's a 5-1 Blue Jays lead here in the bottom of the 8th. Dickerson fouls off the first pitch. Corey Dickerson with 5 home runs. We mentioned the long home run he hit. That was in the season opening game against Marcus Stroman. He led off the 9th inning with a long home run deep to right field.
Marcus was unable to finish that inning, throw the complete game. There's Osuna getting loose. Don't know how they're going to play this one right here. Cecil versus Dickerson. They're counting outs. That's what they're doing right here, looking to stop that losing streak. They could go Cecil versus Dickerson, and then with the right-hander on deck, they might ask Osuna for an inning in a third, or they can let Brett Cecil, 2 of the next 3 batters are left-handed, try to finish out this inning.
Osuna last pitched on Sunday in the Oakland series. He did not pitch in the White Sox series. Chopped off home plate. Goins waits and fires quickly. Bang, bang at first, but he gets Dickerson.
John Gibbons keeps saying it over and over. We need Brett Cecil to pitch well. We need Drew Storen to pitch well. These are our guys at the back end of the bullpen. And if we're going to close out games and win games, we're going to need these guys. And he says, I have all the confidence in the world in these guys. They'll get it going.
Steven Souza Jr. had an infield hit in the 6th. He's 1 for 3. Yeah, the only way they're going to sort things out is to pitch.
Right. Build up that arm strength and get back to being successful.
One count to Steven Souza. Cecil with a very good breaking ball, but I think the fact that he hasn't really had great command of his fastball has kind of robbed him of that effectiveness. There's a good fastball.
I think he has to put fastball in the minds of the hitters to use the breaking ball, and it's a good one. He hasn't been able to snap it off like we've seen in the past just yet. But if you put fastball in the minds and they have to respect your fastball, that makes that breaking ball that much more effective.
A little better fastball there at 94. Strike 3 call. He got that breaking ball on the outside corner, so Cecil comes in. Gets ground out and a strikeout to end the 8th. We'll go to the 9th. The Blue Jays have a 5-1 lead. Drive of the game is brought to you by the all-new Honda Civic, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Well, this is a drive, and I think this drive is still going. High fastball from Drew Smyly to Josh Donaldson, and he clubbers it to left field. Hits off that ring in left field. Watch the ball bounce back into play. That thing would be still going. as Josh Donaldson makes his way around the bases for our drive of the game.
His 8th home run of the season. It ties him with Robinson Cano for the lead in the American League. This is Yan Marinas, hard-throwing right-hander.
Just recalled on Sunday from their AAA team when Blake Snell was sent back down. There are his numbers in AAA in 6 games. You're right, he's got a good arm, throws very hard. 95 with that ball with some movement.
Russell Martin singled to right his last time up. That came against a right-hander, Steve Geltz. Up the middle, they were shading him up the middle, and Forsythe throws him out. Marinas has 6 games of experience in the big leagues prior to this appearance tonight. He had 4 games with Florida in 2010, 2 more with the White Sox in 2012, and then this appearance right here, big league appearance number 7.
He was actually traded for a manager.
How about that? He went from Florida to the Chicago White Sox for Ozzie Guillen. Kevin Pillar, he's gone 0 for tonight. This is going to reach the seats along the right side. Five-game hit streak in jeopardy. 8 for 18. That was a homestand. He had a good homestand over these 6 games, including hits in his last 5.
They are now shifting on Kevin Pillar. I don't believe I've ever seen that from teams. A lot of his hits were right back through the middle, if you remember, in that last homestand.
Little dribbler to third base. Longoria throws on the run. What a nice play by Evan Longoria. 2 down.
Sportsnet Jays Care broadcast auction presented by TD will take place during Sportsnet's national broadcast of the Blue Jays against the Rays on May 18th. 12 unique Blue Jays experiences and packages up for bids. Visit BlueJays.com/broadcast auction to see a full list of prizes available. All funds will help Jays Care go beyond the ballpark for over 62,000 children and youth across Canada in 2016. Buck?
Well, make sure you join us for that Jays Care broadcast auction. And Ivanka Osmak does a terrific job as the hostess for that auction. On air, you'll see a lot of great gifts, a lot of opportunities to enjoy special experiences. Ryan Goins drives this one to left, deep, and gone! Ryan Goins, his first home run of the season, an opposite field shot.
How about that for Ryan Goins? Blue Jay fans, along with his mom and dad, who are in the stands today, got to enjoy that. You can see him looking up into the stands. I'm sure he found his parents. That was worth the trip, wasn't it? Huh?
Got a high fastball and stayed on it. He's been hitting the ball hard. Not much to show for it lately. He had 5 home runs last year, and he's got one now. He's in the books. A long ball.
An opposite field home run for Ryan Goins.
Michael Saunders has had a pair of home runs. Goins gets this fastball up out over the plate and drills it to left.
Classic 4-seam fastball. He doesn't have to pull the ball to knock it out of the ballpark. Witness that opposite field home run. one more time. You're right. He's been swinging the bat really well and just hasn't had a lot to show for it because it's been either right at him or some of the best defensive plays we've seen in the last couple of weeks have come against him. And that time he hit it where they couldn't catch it.
Michael Saunders pulls it on the ground, scooped by Morrison. That'll end the inning. But the Blue Jays enjoying their first 4 home run game of the season. Saunders a pair of solo home runs, Donaldson his 8th, and number 1 for Ryan Goins. Roberto Osuna coming into the ball game. Prior to tonight's game, PlayStation provided us with a prediction of who they thought tonight's Blue Jays player of the game would be. The video game version picked Troy Tulowitzki.
And actually, Troy was 0 for 3. Simulator had him 2 for 3 with a couple of home runs and 2 RBIs. Now, if you could scratch out Troy Tulowitzki and put Michael Saunders in there, that would have been right on.
Right on the money. Troy Tulowitzki was the selection tonight. The simulation is powered by MLB The Show 16 only on PlayStation. Here is Osuna.
Trying to finish off this one. This is not a safe situation with the Blue Jays up 6-1. But they want to stop that losing streak, so they bring in Osuna. They also bring in Ezekiel Carrera, who was taken over in left field for Michael Saunders.
Osuna has not pitched since Sunday in the Oakland series. Pulled on the ground. Goins is out in shallow right. Morrison thrown out. 1 down, bottom of the 9th.
Number 5, the left fielder, Brandon Geyer.
The Blue Jays will play again tomorrow afternoon. It'll be Jay Happ against Chris Archer. Note the start time. It'll be a 6 o'clock local time. That's 3 p.m. Pacific. Pre-game show will be a half hour before that with Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn. Make sure you check that out. Jay Happ off to a great start this season. Chris Archer bounced back last time out. He lost his first 4 decisions and won last time out.
One of those to the Blue Jays on opening night, if you remember that.
He had 12 strikeouts in that game, but the Blue Jays won that ball game. Archer went 6 2/3 in the season opener. Archer has 39 strikeouts in the month of April. We mentioned that Drew Smiley and David Price have the franchise record with 41 strikeouts in the opening month of the season.
Is it still April tomorrow? He needs 2 to tie. Kind of like his chances. 16 starts against the Blue Jays in his career.
Yeah, as we mentioned, he had 12 the first time out against the Jays this season. That's a fair ball off the bat of Brandon Guyer. He is digging around first, headed for second. Pereira, fresh into the game, gets it back in. With one out, the man at second. Now it's time for a preview of what's coming up on Sportsnet Central. Here's Ivanka Osmak. Thank you very much, Ivanka. That's all coming up right after this game, so make sure you stay tuned. Roberto Osuna into the ball game. Osuna not pitching in a save situation. Kevin Kiermaier. Kiermaier had a single off of Aaron Sanchez on an 0-2 pitch in the seventh. He goes after the first pitch. That's out of play. For Osuna, this is his 10th game of the season. Coming into this game, he pitched a total of 9 1/3.
They got him up. They heated him up last inning. So the thinking is, let's get him into the ball game.
One and one. Rays have never hit much against Osuna. In fact, the league hitting 176 this year prior to this outing.
That's Hank Conger, who has come out on deck to pinch hit. I love Osuna's attitude. Tell me when I have to pitch, and I get up, I come in and I do my thing. I'm worried too much about, well, I need an off day here, I need an off day there. Just give me the ball when you want me to, and I'll go out there and do my job.
Off-speed pitch pulled foul. Osuna had Tommy John surgery in 2013 when he was 18 years old. His uncle Antonio pitched in the majors for 11 seasons. His father Roberto pitched 22 years in Mexico, and some advice his father gave Roberto was, learn something every day you come to the ballpark. Don't take anything for granted. That's a base hit. Pereira charging it. He's going to stop the runner at third base. Guyer stopped at third. And obviously the Rays are down by 5.
I think the Blue Jays were conceding that run, trying to keep the double play in order. Justin Smoke asking if they want to play behind the runner. Kiermaier always seems to come up with some big base hits versus the Blue Jays. Does it again, but again, you're down by 5 runs, and they were going to throw the ball into second base no matter what. Charlie Montoya, third base coach, stops Guyer at third.
So Hank Conger will pinch hit for Kurt Casale. One catcher hitting for the other. Conger is a switch hitter, batting left-handed against Osuna. He goes after the first pitch. Conger is pinch hitting for the third time. He's 0 for 2 as a pinch hitter.
He likes that fastball, and he likes it down.
There's a fastball.
A little bit more on it than you usually see. 97.
One out. 0-2 pitch. Got it. 2 down now. strikeout for Osuna. Got the pinch hitter Hank Conger.
Not nice when you need a strikeout, you're able to put it into a second gear, reach back for a little something extra, and finish off the pinch hitter. Look at this fastball just explode to home plate and goes right by him.
So the Rays aren't done just yet. Logan Forsythe's had another big night. He is 2 for 3 with a walk. He's been on base 3 times. There goes the base runner, and they'll concede second to Kiermaier. Defensive indifference. There'll be no stolen base for Kiermaier. Osuna reaching back for a little extra with these 2 runners on base.
Yeah, he wants to save them.
They're his runs.
They're his runs. A double and a single. Putting the runners at second and third now after the indifference.
Aaron Sanchez started. He went 7 innings, shut out the Rays on 6 hits, walked 2, and struck out 6. Popped up. This should do it. Donaldson, the third baseman, calling for it, and makes the catch. That's the ball game. The Blue Jays win the opener here on Friday night, 6-1. Aaron Sanchez with the win.
And the hitting stars, the Blue Jays, showing some power. Michael Saunders with a couple of home runs, Josh Donaldson with the long bomb, and Ryan Goins with his first home run of the season. Bullpen close it out, and they stop the losing streak and win a big game here in Tropicana Field.
They snap a 3-game losing streak. They have their first 4-homer game of the season. They score 6 runs on just 7 hits, but 4 long balls. Sanchez improves to 2-1. The Blue Jays will be right back at it tomorrow afternoon. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon. Here's Ivanka Osmak.